Welcome everyone. This is Sports Cards Anonymous. This is a channel where we have conversations about cards. And this is the slow burn. Usually there's a cigar in hand, but today have a cup of coffee. Seahawks probably just won the Super Bowl, so that game's close to over, and there's a little something I wanted to talk about. And I'm calling it Let It Breathe. Talking about quick flipping. And with wine, right? They say let it breathe. It doesn't matter if it's a $20 bottle or a $150 bottle. The idea is when you take that cork out, you let it sit for a little bit. You let it ruminate, aerate, I don't know. But what it does is it takes some of that sharpness of the wine away, and more than taking away some of the sharpness, especially in your cheaper bottles, it also enhances some flavors that are kind of hiding in the wine. So if you just open the bottle and drink it right away, it's a little too sharp. You don't get the full appreciation of that bottle, of that glass. But if you let it breathe, you give it some time, be a little patient, even for 30 minutes on the counter, that sharpness goes away, it's more palatable, and there's these hidden flavors there that are delicious that come forward. And now when I think about that with sports cards, there's something I see all the time, and it's quick flips. People trying to quick flip. I shouldn't say quick flips, but the attempt to quick flip. And when people are doing this, I can't help but think they need to let it breathe. They need to let these cards breathe a little bit. You'll see it big on eBay, right? You'll see a phenomenal patch card get listed. And, let's just say it's listed for 400 bucks. You can say, okay, this card looks pretty good. That's kind of interesting. I don't know if that price is right. Let me go see where sales have been. And you'll look a week ago, the exact same card, the exact same patch, so it's that exact copy, sold for $200. The problem is when you try to do this, your comp is living on eBay. It's living there for at least 90 days, right? And when you relist that quickly, it's insulting. It's frankly, it's insulting. The hobby is social. The hobby is very social. Whether everyone agrees with that or not, it's very social. The fact that you're here watching this video means it's social, right? You're trying to engage with the community in some way, shape, or form. People enjoy our collections. It's social. We buy and trade from one another. It's social, right? The hobby is very social. When you win a card at auction for $200 and then a week later list it for $400, guess who are the people who look at that card? The same people who lost that auction to you, who were not willing to pay what you paid 1 week ago. So now they see you won the card and you didn't even want it because you've immediately relisted it. You're just trying to flip it. And so you have now alienated your core audience. The people who want that card are the same people that lost to you at auction. They see that you relisted a week later for $400, twice the price that you paid for it. And now they just, screw you, I don't want the card. Right? Very few cards are so special that you can alienate the core audience of that card and still flip it and do well. Right? Most cards, even though they could be a 1 of 1 or they could be numbered to 3 or something, they are replaceable. Patch autos are fantastic and wonderful, and I think they're great. But there are other patch autos, right? Unless that player has literally only 3 or 4 copies of patch autos in existence, it is a replaceable card. And the same holds true for autos or refractors or, whatever the case is, PMGs even, right? There's other copies out there. So no card really is beyond being affected by you making the core audience of that card angry, right? So the hobby is social, and you don't want to aggravate the people that are looking in that card. And now, more than just quick flips on eBay, we need to look at people trying to quick flip at shows too. When you go to a show, if you're trying to quick flip, what is it you're trying to do, right? You're basically trying to rip someone off. You're kind of looking for arbitrage in a way, but you're really just looking for a deal. You're hoping someone will give you 70% of the cards, someone will sell you a card for 70% of the card's value. Or you're hoping someone, has something mislabeled or misstickered. So even in that aspect, when you're going in person, you're just hoping that somebody is willing to give you something. So again, going back to the hobby is social, you're just looking to take advantage of someone so that you can sell on the backside and make a little bit of cash. Now, why I say let it breathe, stop the quick flipping, right? That's kind of the negatives to me. When I look at quick flipping and how it's usually done right now, I say, that's not the way to do it, right? So then what would I recommend? I'd recommend let it breathe, right? You get that patch auto for $200, and okay, you want to flip it. Well, let it breathe. Let it sit 90 days. Let your comp at least go off of eBay's search history, sold history, right? Obviously, it's going to live on in Market Movers and Card Ladder and whatever, but at least get it off of eBay. And on top of that, when you buy a card and you immediately relist it, again, you will anger the people who want that card because they already lost to you at auction, right? They're not looking to pay double the price of what you paid, which was more than what they were willing to pay a week ago. So if you let it sit that 90 days, one, your comp goes away. So maybe there's new buyers, there's new people, there's new information. They say, oh, that person got a good deal 95 days ago because they look at Market Movers or Card Ladder or whatever. But it is what it is. Maybe the market's changed. Maybe that player's gotten hot or cold. Maybe that particular market, that particular card art, card style has gotten hot. I mean, we're seeing it right now. There's a lot of cards that are on fire that are up, 2x, 3x in the last 3 months. So it's certainly something that can happen in 3 months. When you let it breathe, you give the potential customer, the potential trade partner, you give them the leash to figure out why you're trying to sell that card. Maybe you had it for a few months and you don't want it anymore, right? Maybe you had it for a few months and that market got hot and it's just not, it's worth more than what you would want it for. So you're willing to sell it, right? You're building a relationship with that person across the screen, and you're giving them that excuse to be like, it's okay to pay a little bit more. Now, some of this may sound like I'm trying to flip and I'm trying to do this, and I really don't do much flipping anymore. I don't have anything listed on eBay. I'm not looking to really sell anything. It's not what I want to do. Like, I like going to shows. I like trading. It's what I like to do. But even with that, with my shows, I have 2 boxes in my office. I have 2 boxes of stuff that, hey, I would like to trade this. Some of it is stuff that I've had for a while, and I take that to the show because I'm happy to trade it or sell it at today's market price. And some of it is stuff that I've picked up at recent shows that in the future I hope to sell or to trade. But at today's price is around what I paid for it. I'm not looking to move out of it now. I think that the cards have some legs, and in the long term, it's going to be something I'm going to be able to move, for some profit. And in that way, I let the cards breathe, right? And there's one other thing I wanted to say on this. It's slightly escaping my brain. Let me look at my notes here. Well, liquidity. I want to talk about liquidity and collector and time. Yes. So let's talk about collector. There's a collector advantage here. So like I said, I'm not really trying to sell stuff, right? So the stuff I buy because I like it. And beyond, I buy because I like it. I buy because I have some purpose for it, right? I plan on it going in my collection. It's fitting something that I want it to do. It's a card that I like that I'm happy to hang on to, right? So the collectors have an advantage in the long term on card appreciation, because if you're buying cards that you are willing to hold on to for a long time because you like the player, you like the style, right? The card just fits your aesthetics in the hobby, then you're willing to hold for many months or years even. But if you're buying the quick flip, what's happening is you're buying something you don't really want. You just think it's kind of a good deal. So again, like I've talked about in the past, you're more attracted to the offer, to the deal, than you are to the card itself. But then what happens is, you buy that $200 card, you try to sell it for $400, and now nobody wants it. You've actually aggravated people, but you don't actually want that card. So now you've got $200 tied up in this card, and you've got it listed, and the people who should be the ones willing to buy it don't want to buy it from you because they're mad because you try to do the quick flip. And so now you're just kind of stuck with that card for a while, and what are you going to do with it? You try to go to a show and you try to trade it or flip it or sell it. But what happens? Every dealer goes and they pull up comps and they say, well, you just sold, you just bought it for $200 a week ago. I'll pay you 180, and not, you're just kind of screwed with it. But when you're a collector, you buy this card that you like, you sit on it, and you say, oh, this is a great card. I'm going to keep hanging with it. 6 months goes, 12 months goes, 18 months goes. No one's looking at that comp from a year and a half ago. No one cares about it, even if they do see it, right? It's mostly irrelevant. And you still, that whole time, have a card that you like. It's still adding something to what you got going on in your own life. Whereas if you're just trying to do the quick flip and it's not a card you like, what happens is this becomes a time sink. It becomes a time sink, and it becomes, really what it becomes is a liquidity issue. Because you've invested that $200 into that card, but you don't want it, and you're eagerly trying to get rid of it, but that comp is killing you. That comp that you have on eBay is killing you. And even forget about the comps on eBay. You say you bought it at a show at market. Okay, it's still killing you. The market is killing you. The market does not change that fast. So now you bought a card you don't like because you thought it was a good deal, and now you need to wait for the market to update. You need to wait for the market to refresh, right? You need to wait for a new comp. You need to wait for something to happen with that player's career or life, or something in the card's hobby experience. And while you're waiting, you're frustrated because you're like, I really don't want this card, but I want the money out of it so I can go do some other stuff. And in my experience, what happens, you get frustrated, and then probably what happens in the end is you end up fire selling it. You end up trying to get out of that card because you hold on to it for 2.5, 3 months. You're like, man, this is frustrating. I don't want this card anymore. And you sell it for 180. You take a small haircut. You're like, man, I'm just happy to get out of it, get my money back. But if you were the collector, you could have held on to it for another year or whatever, and you would have been fine with it. And maybe you end up making good profits. Maybe that player has a good year. Maybe the market, turns up for whatever reason on that particular card, on that player, or the market in general. There's a lot of variables there. But again, patience. Let it breathe. Let these acquisitions breathe. I think a lot of people, I certainly went through this years ago. You want to make these flips, and we saw it during COVID. I think COVID maybe it kind of warped everyone's mind that these flips can be so quick. Because in COVID, you'd order a card, and by the time it was in your mailbox, it was worth double, right? And it was just a crazy time, and so many people joined during that window. So maybe that's kind of a leftover. A lot of people still feel that way, but that's just not how it works. You got to give this stuff time and let it work its way through the market, and let the market decide the ups and downs on this stuff. The quick flips, it's a time sink, and it's pretty rough. It traps all your liquidity, and of course that's frustrating too. That again leans on that you might fire sell the card because your liquidity is trapped up in it, and you might say, especially if this is how you're being, you're so attracted to other deals, you've got your liquidity tied up in this card. You're like, well, I'll take 175. It's a small haircut because I see all these other great opportunities, all these great other deals out there. And so then you go chase them, and that wheel just keeps going, right? You just end up treading through the same bad deals that you're not particularly happy with, having cards you don't really care about. Whereas the collector puts 150 into a card, 200 into a card, happy to hold on to it, for the foreseeable future. And usually the collector's not thinking, how do I sell? When do I sell this? When's my exit opportunity? They're more thinking, I'm just happy to have this card. And then the market presents itself to the collector and says, hey, that card's worth a lot more than what you paid for it. Are you interested in selling? And then the collector gets to think, do I want to sell this card? Is there something else I'd rather have in my collection than this? Yes or no? And they make that decision on their own, right? So quick flipping, this is not a video to be like, flippers are bad. Flipping is part of the hobby now. It's fine. This is more of a video I would advise against quick flipping. Quick flip, the odds are just stacked against you drastically if you're trying to quick flip. The market's against you, comps are against you, dealers are against you. Your core group of people who you may be trying to sell to are probably against you, again, especially if they can see that comp on eBay. You're just mostly going to aggravate people rather than, have them interested in your card. I mean, I've been there. I've been where I've lost on an auction. I see the card get listed a week later. It's a card I'm interested in. And the guy lists it for 2x, 2.5x. He wants me to pay the fees too. And I'm just like, no, I want that card, but I will not buy from you. Certainly not at this price. It's lunacy. I want to go back to one more thing on this too, the time sink. I think the time sink in these sorts of adventures, this is the hidden cost. I mean, really, this is the hidden cost. So if you're in this game of quick flipping, right? If you're trying to do quick flips, what you're really doing is you're perusing eBay for good deals, right? You're looking more for the deal than for the card. So you're perusing eBay to look for good deals, and then let's just say you find one, right? And you go through this whole cycle that I've already talked about. I'm not going to reiterate the point. And then you have trouble getting the sale going. But get the sale going or not, what happens is when you're looking for deals instead of specific cards, eBay becomes a trap because eBay gives you the promise of infinite deals. Because you know there's infinite cards listed on eBay and nearly infinite cards being listed on eBay, it will justify in your brain, it will pull you into that phone, into the eBay, app or site infinitely. It will keep pulling you and luring you in because it's saying, hey, there's this great deal. There could be a great deal. You just got to find it. You just got to look for it. And so much of the engineering in the world and in tech, is based on that, based on our desire to go back and check it and refresh it, that dopamine hit, the dopamine monster. And if you get in this quick flip mentality, the dopamine monster is going to be in your closet at all times. He's always going to be there under your bed, the boogeyman just lurking. And you're not going to notice it, but he swallowed you up, man. You're in your phone way too much. So quick flipping, right? It might be nice to make a little bit of money here and there. I get it, but the reality is it's unsustainable, right? Like, again, you are hoping for some random arbitrage or some, random poorly priced card. Like, it's this, to me, is not a sustainable way to enjoy the hobby because it's difficult. It's difficult to find the opportunities. I don't know if y'all can hear that motorcycle, but I'll let it pass. And because it's difficult to find the opportunities, that's what leads to the eBay problem, the constant looking, because they're hard to find. So you keep looking, you think, well, they're out there. I just got to find them. And so you end up just not enjoying the hobby. You don't really succeed in the quick flips. You don't succeed in building a good collection. You don't succeed in building good relationships, right? You're really not doing anything to further your enjoyment in the hobby. And so I think it's a trap. I think quick flipping is a trap. I'm sure some of you, have had great success with it. I mean, it's happened. I've had success with it. It's happened in the past. But overall, I think it's probably just a waste of your time. And more than just a waste of your time, it's a trap that will eat more of your time than you initially had intended to give it. And so we need to use eBay instead of perusing eBay for the promise of a great deal in the future somewhere. We need to use eBay for selective, surgical precision, right? I'm looking for these very specific cards. Those are what my saved searches are. I check it once a day, and I don't need to check it more often than that because, these cards aren't going to get popped up, and I mean, it's fine. I don't need to be lured into eBay to continue to peruse. So I want to talk about quick flipping. What happened is, this exact scenario happened. Somebody won a card for like right around $200, and they relisted it a week later on eBay for $350. I went to go look at comps and be like, how reasonable is this? Some of this patch auto stuff, it can be hard to tell, because of the patches. And I mean, literally the exact same Topps Dynasty card, literally exact same patch, listed 2 weeks later, for 1.5 times the price. I'm just like, what are you doing? Why? It just boggled my mind. Why'd you even buy that card, right? You wanted it at auction. I got a good deal with it. That's great. So then you go relist it for $350 2 weeks later, but anyone who would have been interested in that card would have been there at the auction. Yeah, of course you get new looky-loos like me and stuff, but like, I see that auction went for $200 and you're the winner, so why would I want to buy it? Like, $200 is probably too high for the card because you obviously didn't want it, but you paid $200. So I think it's a mistake. I think it's a trap, and you don't want to get caught up into it. I think you're a little bit better off thinking the collector's the collector's perspective, which isn't necessarily buying what you like, but it's buying for your collection. Your collection's telling a story. It's your scope of collection. It's your museum. What story are you telling? What cards fit into that story? And buying cards that do that so that they can be with you a long time and you're going to be happy with it. And over time, they may appreciate, right? Over time, the market on them may go up. And your enjoyment of them may go up or it may go down. And if it goes down, then you say, okay, now it's time for me to trim this a little bit so that I can add other cards that are a better fit in my collection today, right? Our taste and what we look for changes over time. It updates, we evolve, I guess. All right, quick flipping. That's quick flipping. That's my thoughts on it. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I got a long walk around for the camera right now, but yeah, hope you all have a good start to your week or good rest of your week, depending on when you watch this. And until next time, as always, my friends, keep collecting.